right now, you probably think of sports as entertainment, something you watch on a screen or play on the weekend, a game, a distraction, something we invented to pass the time. But you'd be wrong, because the thing you call sports is one of the oldest things a human being can do. It's older than writing, older than farming, older than cities or money or religion. And here's the part that should genuinely mess with your head. Every single sport you've ever watched, every wrestling match, every race, every throw is actually the same thing. It's ancient survival training in disguise. We just forgot that's what it was. This is the story of how humans invented sports and why we're the only animal on Earth that ever did. Let's start with a strange fact. Lots of animals play. Puppies wrestle, lion cubs chase each other, dolphins mess around in the water. Play itself is not unique to us, but humans are the only species that ever took play and added something to it. Rules, winners and losers, a crowd. We're the only animal that turned playing into a competition with a structure, a goal, and someone keeping score. The question is, why? Why would a species that spent every waking moment trying to survive, trying not to starve, not to freeze, not to get eaten, waste precious energy running in circles or wrestling each other for no reason? The answer is that it was never for no reason. To understand this, you have to go back to what life actually was for early humans. Every skill that kept you alive was physical. If you couldn't run fast, you couldn't catch food, and you couldn't escape the things trying to eat you. If you couldn't throw a spear accurately, you starved. If you couldn't fight, you died the first time another human or animal decided they wanted what you had. Your body was your only tool, and a dull tool got you killed. So the humans who survived were the ones who practiced, who threw the spear 1,000 times until it was perfect, who ran until they were faster, who wrestled until they were stronger. Here's the key. Practicing these skills wasn't optional. It was the difference between living and dying. Now watch what happens when you put a group of these humans together. If survival depends on being fast, then the fastest person in the tribe isn't just fast. They're valuable. They eat first. They're respected. Other people want to be near them, want to have children with them. The same goes for the best thrower, strongest wrestler. So suddenly, being good at these survival skills isn't just about not dying, it's about status. And the moment survival skill becomes status, you get the one thing that turns practice into sport: competition. Because now people don't just want to be good, they want to be better than each other. They want to prove it. And the whole tribe wants to watch because they need to know who to trust when the hunt goes wrong, who to follow, who's the strongest. That's the birth of sport, not entertainment. A public test of who was most likely to keep everyone alive. And we have proof. Deep inside a cave in southwestern France, a place called Lascaux, there are paintings on the walls that are around 17,000 years old. Most people know Lascaux for its famous animals: horses, the bulls, the deer. But among those paintings, researchers have found something else. Depictions that appear to show human figures sprinting and wrestling 17,000 years ago. Before farming, before writing, before anything we'd call civilization, someone thought a running race and a wrestling match were important enough to paint on a wall deep in the dark by firelight, the same way we'd film a championship today. And it's not just France. In the Bayan-Kongur province of Mongolia, there's cave art from around 7,000 BC that shows a wrestling match. But this one has a detail that changes everything. The wrestlers are surrounded by a crowd. Think about what that means. This wasn't two people fighting to settle a score. This was an event. People gathered. They stood around and watched two humans grapple. The same way 80,000 people would later pack into the Colosseum. The same way 1 billion people watch the World Cup today. 9,000 years ago, humans were already doing the most fundamentally human thing there is: gathering to watch other humans compete. The same story shows up everywhere, independently, all over the world. Rock art in Egypt and Libya from around 6,000 BC shows swimming and archery. Prehistoric cave paintings in Japan show something that looks almost exactly like sumo wrestling. These cultures never met, they never spoke, and yet they all invented the same idea: turn survival skills into a contest and let people watch. That's how deep this runs. Sport isn't a cultural invention that one clever society came up with and spread to everyone else. It appeared everywhere on its own because it comes from something built into what we are. And of all these early sports, one is older than all the rest. One shows up in nearly every ancient culture on Earth, wrestling. There's a reason for that. Wrestling needs no tools, no spear, no ball, no field, just two humans and the oldest question in the world. Who is stronger? It's the purest possible test of the body, and it maps directly onto survival because for most of human history, at some point, you were going to have to physically overpower something or someone to stay alive. Wrestling was how you trained for the worst day of your life and turned it into a game.
By the time the first civilizations rose, this instinct was already ancient. When the Egyptians built tombs at a place called Beni Hassan around 4,000 years ago, they covered the walls with paintings of wrestlers, hundreds of them, showing throws, holds, and counters in such detail that you could almost learn the sport from the wall. When the Sumerians wrote one of the oldest stories in human history, the Epic of Gilgamesh, they included a wrestling match between the hero and his rival, because that's how you proved who was the greater man. And then, in the year 776 BC, in a place called Olympia in Greece, all of this came together into something with a name we still use today, the Olympic Games. Running, wrestling, boxing, throwing, the exact same survival skills painted on cave walls 17,000 years earlier, now organized into a festival that united an entire civilization. But here's what I want you to understand. The Greeks didn't invent this. They just gave it a stadium. The impulse they were following was already tens of thousands of years old. They were doing the same thing the humans at Lascaux were doing. The same thing the crowd in that Mongolian cave was doing. Gathering to watch the fastest, the strongest, the most skilled prove themselves. So here's the full picture. Millions of years ago, our survival depended entirely on our bodies, on running, throwing, and fighting. The humans who practiced those skills survived, and being good at them became a source of status and respect. Status turned practice into competition. Competition turned into events, and people gathered to watch. 17,000 years ago in France, 9,000 years ago in Mongolia, independently all over the world. Everything after that, the Olympics, the Colosseum, the World Cup, the game you'll watch this weekend is just a more organized version of the exact same thing. Which means every time you watch a sport, you're not just being entertained. You're watching a ritual older than your species has had a name for itself. You're watching humans do the thing that kept us alive for 1,000,000 years. Test the body, find the strongest, gather around to see who wins. The spears became javelins. The chase became the race. The fight for your life became the fight for a medal. But the impulse is exactly the same one that made a hungry human hundreds of thousands of years ago decide to throw a rock just a little farther than the person standing next to them. We didn't invent sports to escape survival. We invented them because of it. And we're the only animal that ever figured out how to turn staying alive into a game.